Those of you who have sections Monday and Tuesday should be getting back your exams in section today. Otherwise, you should have gotten them back on Thursday and Friday of last week if you had section then. We're moving on. We're already like hitting the halfway point of the second unit of the course, which means we need to start making up the second exam. Okay, so it goes very quickly in this class. So you need to keep up with the readings. But now you know what to expect in the exams. Every year for the past 17 years, grades go up as we go through the semester. So let's focus on this new content. Okay, we were talking about the self last week. We ended talking about self-presentation, which really has this motivational flavor to it. We engage in self-presentation either effortlessly or effortfully in our everyday lives, presumably because we have particular motives to convey a certain kind of impression, oftentimes positive to other people. Today we're going to continue talking about motivational aspects of the self, talking in particular about self-evaluative motives. And by that mouthful, I mean the motives, the goals you have that guide the kinds of information you seek out there, how you judge information out there when you're evaluating yourselves. Am I good or bad at this? Am I better than her, worse than her, what have you? Self-evaluation is something we do a lot of the time. It's related to self-esteem. Okay? Self-esteem reflects the global self-evaluation that we have. And then we'll end today's lecture, probably not quite finishing, but starting at least self-regulation, which is also a motivational topic on the self, because self-regulation is all about the efforts and behaviors and things that we do to try to meet our goals and standards. How we regulate, how we alter and change our behaviors to try to meet our goals and standards. So talking about hotter aspects of the self today. Okay, get your eye clickers out. Not quite, get it out, get it ready. But first I want you to think about the following in your head. Think first for a second about your favorite food. This hopefully doesn't take that long. What is your favorite food? Think about that. Think about your favorite sexual activity. This is from an actual study. This is not me wondering about these things. Keep it to yourself. And then think of your favorite self-esteem boosting activity or event. Like what do you like that boosts your self-esteem? Do you like it when someone says you look nice? Do you like it when you get a good grade? What's one of your favorite things that happens that makes you feel good about yourself? Okay? So think about your favorite food, your favorite sexual activity, and your favorite self-esteem boosting activity. With those in mind, I want you to indicate A, B, or C. Which of the following would you least want to give up? Which one do you like the most? Okay? This is all anonymous, okay? So please answer honestly. Completely anonymous. Responses are slow to this. Is this really a difficult question? Okay. Get up to 250. Come on. Make a choice. We're getting there. We're getting there. Come on. Oh, my God. 230. Come on. Let's get to 250. Let's go, guys. Make a choice. What do you like the most? This is painful, painful, painful. I can't wait anymore. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm so curious. Okay, here we go. Self-esteem. Okay, you're laughing. I don't know why you're laughing, but that, what was that? Yeah, so self-esteem is the winner here, and that was the winner in the study that also asked thousands of college students this question. And the reason I asked you this question is because this first self-evaluative motive I want to talk about is self-enhancement, which we've encountered before, and it has to do with self-esteem, feeling good about the self. It turns out, wait a minute, let me do this right. We're going to talk about 4 self-evaluative motives today. Don't need to write this down yet because we're going to go through each one. The first one is enhancement. And it's probably no surprise to any of us here that we generally like to feel good about ourselves. It's one of those 3 big motivational principles I outlined at the beginning of the semester. We like to feel good about ourselves and things connected to us. You as college students, like yourselves, value self-esteem boosts, like you did, more than sex, more than their favorite food. And I didn't force you to think about this, but in other studies in the same article, they liked self-esteem boosts more than receiving a paycheck. They liked it more than seeing a friend or having a drink. So self-esteem, those are pretty cool things too. Getting a paycheck, having a drink, seeing a friend, and so forth, those are pretty cool. Favorite sexual activity, favorite food, these are favorites in life, and yet people tend to rank self-esteem boosts higher. And these were participants, unlike you guys, who were not answering this question in the context of a class, and therefore knew when I was probably after. Okay, so they were answering it fully naive to what the researchers were interested in. We've encountered self-enhancement before, as I've said. We've seen it when we talked about the self-serving attributional bias, this tendency that we have to take credit, make that internal attribution when we succeed, when we do well in a test, do well at a sporting event, what have you, and to deny responsibility, to not take credit for, to make external attributions when we fail. This is self-protective. It protects, maintains our self-esteem, allows us to feel good about ourselves if we distance ourselves from failures, but really take credit for things when things go well. We also talked about self-enhancement just now in last lecture when we talked briefly about self-presentation, and we'll talk in more detail about self-presentation strategies in section. What I want to introduce to you now is another theory that students tend to like a lot. It has a lot of real-world applications. I think you'll get that once you get into the theory. And the theory is called Tesser's self-evaluation maintenance model. Doesn't matter the Tesser part. Abe Tesser, well-known social psychologist, self-evaluation maintenance model. And as the name of the model suggests, it's about maintaining self-esteem. It assumes a self-enhancement motivation, that people like to feel good about themselves, and they want to do things to maintain a fairly high level of self-esteem. Now, the model's going to seem weird to you in a second until I give you an example. So just bear with me, write this stuff down, and then you'll get it in a second. The theory argues that there are sort of 2 basic processes people engage in when they're evaluating themselves, 2 sort of routes or options. One is what they call a comparison process. You've already heard the term social comparison, when you compare your own performance, your own ability, your own status to that of another person. Okay? The other is called a reflection process. We haven't talked about this before, but you know this well. This is when we reflect on other people's successes. We allow other people's successes to reflect on us. Okay, when Cal wins a football game, we feel that glory. I know that's rare, but we allow that glory to reflect on us. When you see Berkeley's ranked number 1, we take that glory and let it reflect on us. When our best friends score the top grade in the class, we let their glory reflect on us. Oh yeah, my best friend, she's awesome, she just won, blah, 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 okay? We reflect on other people's glory. That's the reflection process. Okay, so what? We've got these 2 processes. The theory argues that there are these 2 dimensions that determine whether you're going to go the comparison or the reflection self-evaluation route. One of them is how relevant is the domain in question to your self-concept? Is it a domain, a performance domain that you care a lot about that's really self-defining, say psychology? Or is it this public speaking class or this drama class that you were just taking for fun and is not very relevant to your self-concept? That's what relevance is referring to. And closeness has to do with the other person that is in the self-evaluating situation. Are they very close to you? Are they your best friend? Are they some acquaintance? Are they some fellow person in section? Or are they your twin sister, okay? Or your very best friend, or your roommate, or something like that. The theory focuses in particular on a kind of tricky situation that we unfortunately find ourselves in, at least some of the time. And that's the situation when others do better than us. Okay, others outperform us. What do we do in these situations? The theory wants to argue that we like to maintain our self-esteem. Somebody else is outperforming us. What do we do? Well, what we do depends on the relevance of the performance domain and how close that other person is to us. So let's take an example here. If the domain is not very self-defining, it isn't really relevant to me. Okay, let's say it's a public speaking class and I'm a psychology major. It's not that important to me. The theory argues that I'm going to bask in the outperforming others' better speaking abilities, better speaking performance. And the closer that other person is to me, the more I can bask in their glory. That should be hopefully intuitive. So in other words, it would be really weird a little bit or socially odd to bask in the glory of somebody you hardly know. Where, oh, that person I don't even know. It would be weird to take on any of their glory. But, oh, my best friend, she gave the best speech. She's awesome. Okay, I can take some of the glory the closer that other person is to me. Does that make sense to you guys intuitively? Okay. But this is what happens, the reflection process, the basking in others' glory when something's irrelevant to you. But what if the outperforming other is outperforming you in a domain that's relevant to your self-definition? So the outperforming other is outperforming you on your psychology test. The theory argues that you're going to go the comparison route. It's something you care about. And the problem here is that you're going to suffer by comparison because they're outperforming you. And it stings even more when that outperforming other is close to you. We all get that, I think, than when that other person is not close to you. When that roommate or best friend is saying they got 100% on the exam and you got a C, that hurts a little bit more than knowing that somebody across the room in your section got 100% and you got a C. Okay? So in both cases, whether you're basking or comparing, it's a stronger sort of effect, whether it's good or bad, the closer somebody is to you. Okay? Okay. So but you should be saying to yourself, okay, that sucks. It's relevant to you. A close other outperforms you. This is painful. This is a self-evaluative dilemma. A close friend, a close other outperforms you in a self-relevant domain. Using your own intuition or knowing that test or self-evaluation maintenance model really cares about these parameters of relevance and closer, what might you do in this situation to help take away the blow to your self-esteem that you're faced with when you're faced with this close friend who's outperforming you in a domain that matters to your self-definition? What might you be able to do to feel better, to maintain your self-esteem? Okay, you could do the self-serving bias. That's right, you could. You could say the reason you got a C on the test is because the test was awful or something like that, or there was somebody sitting next to you that was distracting you. But I want you to stay within the parameters of the model for a second and think in terms of relevance and closeness. Are there things that you can do with those parameters to make you feel better? Yeah. Avoid your friend. Seriously. Increase distance, decrease closeness, because the closer this person is to you, the worse you suffer. So suddenly, she's not such a good friend of yours. You distance yourself. You laugh. Okay, but this can happen. I mean, imagine having a friend in your major who consistently outperforms you. This is not so easy, this friendship, to maintain. Okay, this is painful. You may start to distance. You can play with the closest parameter. Making her more distance takes some of this thing away. What else might you do? Yeah. Make the domain less relevant. Now, that's not always easy, but you could suddenly decide that, social welfare is looking pretty promising instead of psychology. Okay, or maybe, going to graduate school in psychology is not so important to you anymore. That's playing around with the relevance domain, the parameter. If you make it less relevant, now you can bask in her glory. Right? Okay, I'm not saying it's feasible all the time. Now, the third thing, which you guys are unlikely to think about because you're all very nice people, okay? But the third thing you can do according to the model is you could sabotage her performance. Okay, because if she doesn't outperform you, then there's none of this bad stuff happens to your self-evaluative situation. Okay, and we laugh. Okay, but first of all, empirically, tests are shown in these wonderfully clever studies where people they bring a friend into the lab and they actually screw over their friend by giving the friend less useful clues to this task. Okay, than they give to a stranger when the task is defined as something relevant to them. Okay, so you actually are less helpful to your friend than to a stranger, which is counterintuitive, but not from a self-evaluative maintenance dimension. Okay, so you can play around with the performance difference. Okay, you can play around with the relevance parameter or play around with the closeness parameter. Okay, with me? That is a self-evaluation maintenance model. I'm going to give you more examples in a second, but take your eye clickers out for a second. Let's make sure we're all on the same page here. I don't know why this is here. Okay, all of the following. Don't start yet. All of the following fit the predictions that test or self-evaluation maintenance model would make, except one of them. Which one doesn't fit the predictions? Siblings tend to pursue different careers. People bask in their friends' successes in domains they themselves care about. Sabotaging the performance of a close other is more likely to the degree the domain is relevant to one's self-definition. People tend to favor job candidates whose strengths and skills complement their own. Which one is not something Tesser's model would predict? Okay, let's see what we can get to. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. And the answer is B. Yes, that's right. Let's see. Yes, wonderful. Okay, now I use the other answers in there to make a point about what data has shown. Siblings tend to pursue different careers. Okay, people develop different niches in families. Okay, this is empirically documented. I'm sure there's anecdotal evidence sitting in this room about how it can be very difficult to have a sibling who is striving to succeed in something you really care about as well. So oftentimes there's the studious one, there's the athletic one, there's the popular one, the sporty one, what have you. Okay, in part perhaps due to these ideas related to the self-evaluation maintenance model. B is wrong because that's exactly the opposite. We tend to bask in our friends' successes in domains that we don't care about, that aren't self-defining. Sabotaging the performance of a close other is more likely to the degree the domain is relevant, right? It's more threatening, so you don't want them to be outperforming you. And then this is actually relatively recent data, and it's not a really good thing for businesses and for the success of the hiring process if people who are in charge of the hiring process are actually not really wanting to favor job candidates who threaten them, who have skills that are better than theirs, okay, skills that they think are really self-defining. I made it sound a little bit better than the article itself makes it sound, that people want to hire others whose skills complement their all. That sounds great. But what that also means is they're decidedly biased against people who outshine them in skills and strengths that they themselves possess. Okay, this was an article published a couple years ago actually by A. Tester, who appears to still be doing work on this model. Okay, so another example of a theory that assumes at its core that we are motivated to feel good about ourselves. Okay, I'm going to give you one more example of a self-enhancement theory. I'm giving you these examples of self-enhancement in part because there's so much done in self-enhancement, but I don't want you to leave here thinking that this is the predominant motive. It is a very big motive, particularly in Western cultures, but there are other ones, and we will get to them as well. Okay, we already talked about social comparisons in various ways. We talked about social comparison theory, which argues that at times we compare ourselves with similar others. Now here I'm talking about downward social comparisons, which are comparisons you make to people who are worse off or who are worse than you are in a particular domain. So either who are worse off, let's say they're in a worse financial situation than you are, or who are worse at something. They got a worse test grade than you are, or not as skilled at some sport as you are, or so forth. Can someone give me some everyday examples of downward comparisons that people make, domains or times when you or others have made a downward comparison? Everyday kinds of examples, yeah.
When I'm running late to class and I see someone who's spilled coffee on themselves, I sit there and I think, oh, well, at least I may be running late to class, but at least I didn't spill coffee on myself.
I mean, it's a great everyday example. Come on, we've all done that, okay? Give me another one. Give me another three. Come on, Alex.
When I'm at the gym lifting weights, I don't look at the guy who's like 3 times my size.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, I can really lift that one.
Great everyday example. Another one. Thank you for sharing that. This doesn't necessarily make us look great, okay, but makes us feel better in the moment, which is the idea here. Okay, yeah. That's right. When you're feeling down and sorry for yourself, perhaps, you might try to make yourself feel better to think about those who are less fortunate than you are. Okay? I know that I often try to induce my children to make those sorts of comparisons to stop the woe is me attitudes. Yeah.
Like when you're driving, you often, if you see someone pulled over and you've been speeding also, you can feel it. You look at them just to remind yourself.
Yeah, I don't know if that's downward social comparison as much as glee or something like that, but, or relief or something like that. Okay. Because you want a situation where it has more to do with self-evaluation. There, it's probably, unless you're thinking about your driving ability, really there you're just like, phew, you didn't get a ticket, right? Ha ha, on them. I want one that's a little bit more self-evaluative. Yeah. What'd you say? Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. You mean like if you got a ticket or something, or? Oh, yeah. We might make those comparisons all the time about material goods that we have that are nicer than somebody else's. Yes. Unfortunately or fortunately for our self-esteem, we make those comparisons all the time. One more example. Everyday kind of downward comparison. Yeah.
Maybe comparing yourself to a friend who has academic information.
Yes, I love the smile. When maybe you're feeling like maybe you got a B on a test and you're hoping for an A, but you're like, yeah, well, at least I'm not on academic probation like that guy. Okay. So I think intuitively it seems these things work. They do make us feel better, at least in the short term. I have always found this example, the study I want to tell you about, particularly interesting because it not only had psychological benefits, talked about psychological benefits of downward social comparisons, but also physical ones. And it was in a domain that was a little less everyday and a little bit of greater import. In the study, these researchers, the participants were women who were diagnosed with early stage breast cancer. And they were participants who were recruited from support groups. So all these women were in different kinds of breast cancer support groups. And what they did was, the researchers did is they asked these participants to report on times over the course of 7 weeks during the support group process, report on times when they talked to, heard about, or thought about other patients in the support group. Basically, they were trying to get an assessment or measure of how many times they compared themselves to other people in the support group. And they coded people's social comparisons, and they found that over 50% of these comparisons were downward in direction. That is, they were comparing themselves to people whose situation, their breast cancer, their illness, or financial situation, what have you, was worse than one's own situation. So number one finding is that most of the social comparisons that people made, they were of the downward sort versus like similar or upward comparisons, which we'll talk about in a second. But interestingly, they not only made participants report feeling better at a psychological level, but these participants actually reported less severe symptoms. Actually, physical symptoms were better as a function of making these downward social comparisons. So here's an example of something psychological that goes on that may actually have physical, biological kinds of consequences. And there's more and more of that kind of link between social psychology and health-related sorts of outcomes in this day and age. But this was a relatively early example. Okay, so we have self-serving attributional bias, self-presentation, test or self-evaluation maintenance model, and downward comparisons as examples of self-enhancement. Let's move on to the second self-evaluative motive that will seem like I'm giving it short shrift, but I don't mean to. It's just because it's very straightforward. And that's the desire we have at times for accurate self-assessments. And you've heard this already before because I brought up this motivation when we talked about social comparison theory. When we're motivated to get at the truth about our abilities, our traits, our standing, our rank, we seek out the most informative diagnostic information, which is oftentimes comparing ourselves with those who are similar to us in background, training, age, physical health, what have you. So it's a pretty straightforward motivation. People who study this kind of motivation, you may wonder why people study this in the sense that isn't self-enhancement, why would anyone want to get at the truth instead of just feeling good about the self? Why not just go for the hedonic consequences, the positive hedonic consequences of getting self-enhancing evaluative feedback? Why ever seek accurate information? Well, I'm going to say this thing that I say all the time, which is that we have this need, one of those 3 broad motivational principles, we have this need for prediction and control, for feeling that we have a clear understanding of the world, including ourselves, and this accuracy motivation serves that broader need we have, okay? This need we have to feel like we get stuff, including ourselves, which makes us feel like that we can predict and control our outcomes, okay? So at times, we're not driven just to feel good about ourselves, we want to get at the truth, okay? Okay, a third motivation is self-improvement. It's not, we always don't want to get at the truth, we don't always want to feel good about ourselves. Sometimes we want to get better in a domain. This is often the times, how do I improve my job skills? How do I improve my soccer skills? How do I get a better grade on the next exam? Self-improvement desires. Yeah, Alex.
For the accuracy,
Yeah.